Hey everybody, welcome to We Got the Beat, the podcast devoted to 80s entertainment from, I didn't say that right at all. How do I do this every week? Every single episode. It's the worst. Let's try again. We got the beat.
It's okay. You did that on purpose. It's cool, man.
Yeah, man, because I'm hip, man. I'm like anti-podcaster. That's it. Yeah. We're like the fringe comedy scene of podcasting where
we like to be authentic, and that means we make mistakes sometimes.
So this episode is kind of back to school time. Yes, it's horrifying time to go back to school. Jesus. But I thought it'd be nice if we picked two movies that were kind of a parody, a lighthearted spoof before we get into the Halloween season and more fear-oriented stuff. So I picked two spoof comedies, High School High and Not Another Teen Movie. Not just because of that, but it's also the 5th and the 20th anniversary of those, respectively. Is that the word I'm saying? Did I say a big word?
Respectively?
Respectively. All right. I tried.
It's cool. I'm like the grammar police, whether or not I intend to. It's just the way I am.
I am also the person who makes up words all the time.
That's true.
Sometimes
I kind of dig it, honestly.
Sometimes intentionally, sometimes not. So we're not going to go long on this one because it's kind of hard to talk about parodies. Here's the thing: is I don't
know. We've never tried before.
Yeah, it's well, I don't like regurgitating all the jokes. That's what Jacob does sometimes, and we're not really talking about the movie. We're just saying our favorite lines. But
yeah,
High School High was kind of dumped at the end of October against Halloween movies, and it did okay, but it was more of like a video cult thing, whereas Not Another Teen Movie was a hit, and combining that with, Scary Movie, that became a trend for like the next decade, where it was that style of parody. You can tell in just 5 years the difference in the styles of High School High and Not Another Teen Movie.
Oh, yeah, I would have thought that High School High actually came out in, like, the late 80s or early 90s, if I didn't know. I mean, obviously some of the references give it away, but there's something about the, like, style and the quality that gives me more of a, like, late 80s vibe. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
I feel like it's very different from this, and it's bright. It's like bright. So I guess it's basically what you're saying, how much things changed in a short period of time.
Yeah, it's which is ironic because Not Another Teen Movie is so reflective on the teen movies of the 80s and the 90s,
yes.
And there's a lot of that. But what it is this was produced by the Zucker brothers. I think one of them was a co-writer, and one of the writers from Naked Gun 3. So it does have that methodology, the way that Naked Gun is, an Airplane, and Top Secret. Jim Abrams was part of that group too, so he went over to Hot Shots. So it does feel like one of the last gasps of that way of doing parody movies, which is ironic because the Zucker brothers would take over the Scary Movie franchise and then, frankly, save it. Because I actually think 1 and 2 are kind of unwatchable now, and 3 and 4 are great.
You know what's funny is that I've never seen this movie before, somehow.
Well, I was away at college when this came out, and we all watched it a bunch, so I wasn't at home.
I guess that explains a lot.
Yeah, it was one of our favorites. We loved parody movies in college, and this is one we would go back to regularly. I hadn't seen it in a really long time. And this does have kind of a through line that's all those, like Lean on Me, Teachers, Dangerous Minds is a big part of this. Now, you said you thought the plot, it focused too much on plot. I actually think that's why the movie holds up better for me, is that there is a real story. And that was the Zucker brothers' rule, is if you take away all the jokes, you still need to have a good movie.
Well, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm saying that it really separates it from most of the other spoof movies, and I don't know. To me, it's like, yes, there was definitely funny moments. I laughed out loud at a lot of stuff, but it really does have like a plot. It has heart, and sometimes I think that it maybe forgot that it was supposed to be a spoof movie, and it was actually kind of genuine in a lot of moments. So it was a very interesting mix for me. And maybe that's why it wasn't quite as popular, because or didn't do quite as well, because it almost didn't know what it wanted to be.
Yeah,
Does
the
that
first
make
half
sense?
hour, first half hour is so fast. You cannot look away. I made a huge mistake, and I was working on my phone. And I said, "Oh, hold on a second, I got to rewind and start again," because it is like 1,000 gags in the first 30 minutes, and then yes, it does get more focused on the plot, and then the humor comes more out of the behavior than setups and payoffs and sight gags.
Yeah, I mean, by no means do I think that this is a bad movie. Like, I liked it. I thought it was good, but again, I feel like I've seen a decent amount of spoof movies in my lifetime, and I think this one really stands out compared to all of the others, because it really does have like heart. Even though he's an idiot, he means so well, and it could stand alone without considering the spoof element.
Yeah. No, I think Jon Lovitz is really funny, and he's cast well in this, but I think what came before this also hurt him, because if you look at the 2 or 3 movies he did before this, they all were stinkers. Mm-hmm. And that probably didn't help the box office potentially either.
Well, I mean, he's in a lot of stuff, but I wouldn't say that he's ever really done quality work.
Yeah, it's like,
not necessarily his fault, but...
Right? No, it depends on what you're offered. But he was funny in League of Their Own. He was in Big, and My Stepmother's an Alien. Those did well for him. But it's when he became a name above the title, like with Trapped in Paradise, which I find insufferable, and City Slickers 2. I mean, that's just 2 ideas. I think there's a couple others in there that didn't go well for him. And 2 years later, he's now, taking over for Phil Hartman on News Radio. So this is kind of like that last gasp for him as a name.
Yeah, I guess so. Sometimes it's, being a leading man isn't the right fit for everybody. They're better as like a supporting character or in an ensemble piece, like a few years later, Rat Race.
Oh,
I mean,
right, yes.
maybe I'm in the minority here, but I think that's a fucking hilarious movie, and his stuff is gold.
It is.
But,
I completely forgot about that.
And the critic, I mean, also everybody has their preferences, but that was on for 7 years.
Yeah, it was weird because some of it was spread out over on the internet, so technically I think it was only like 3. But what works is that most of the time they have to cast someone serious in these movies, because if they know they're funny, then it doesn't work as well. He balances that, he knows how to sell a joke, but he also doesn't try to do it as a funny guy. Where I think Tia Carrere is also kind of funny. She's pretty good in the Wayne's World movies. I don't 100% like her in this movie because she's trying to sell the joke. And I was like, the joke works on its own. Does that make sense?
Well, I think there's something about her that is likable, but she isn't necessarily a natural.
Yeah, and Mekhi Phifer, is he a good foil in this? I was really impressed, because I think this is the only comedic thing he's ever done.
Maybe. I don't know. I was kind of surprised, and I was like, oh, really? Him?
The one thing I think about with this movie, at first, I kind of had a knee-jerk reaction, thinking that, this is really stereotypical and kind of racist in the behavior they're showing.
Yes.
But then I forgot they're spoofing all that bullshit that you see in the other movies, and that it's making fun of their stereotyping.
Right, exactly. For a second, I thought, oh my gosh, this would never get made now. It would be viewed as so offensive. But that's the point. Like, they are pointing out all of the stupid shit that were in the movies before this. They're exactly pointing it out and saying, "Oh, this is a problem."
Did you ever see Dangerous Minds? I've never seen it.
I think so, but I mean, yes, I have seen it, but it's been a very long time, and I couldn't tell you much about it.
I was gonna say, I wonder how much influence on this. What it seems like it's just a spoof of that genre, period. Whereas a lot of parody movies after Scary Movie were very pointed. This thing in this movie, this thing in this movie, not a general concept.
Yes.
There's not a whole lot to say about this. I just think there's a lot of good story, and like you said, it has a lot of heart mixed in with the jokes. I highly recommend it. I think it's one of the last good spoof movies before they changed the way that they did it. Is there anything else you want to say about the movie before we go?
I think I just want to say one of the funnier moments that I can remember is when the Mekhi Phifer and the girl meet. They're at the dance and they kind of hit it off, and they're like, "Let's dance," and she's like, "Well, I guess one little dance can't hurt." And then it's like the dirtiest shit you've ever seen.
My favorite gag is so minor and you have to pay attention, but you'll see in this guy's hair as they're walking through the hallway, there's little cars, and one's a normal car,
yes.
one's a police car, and it's chasing her. How did they do that?
Yes. I don't know. I do remember that and thinking it was really funny, though. Yes. So tiny.
Yeah, the not another teen movie. Now this one I think is it was much better at the box office. I think it still has a pretty strong cult following. This is like ground zero for a lot of introductions. Like they made it's not their first project, but it's the first project I think a lot of people saw them in, and the cast is better than the movie. With the exception of Randy Quaid, who I think is fucking terrible in this movie. He's so heavy-handed with his stupid jokes, and I don't think anything he does is funny. But come on, Chris Evans, right there. He's playing it dead serious, and it works.
I mean, is this your first introduction to Chris Evans? Because I believe it was mine.
Yeah, it was. I think he was in a show that I had seen an episode of, but I didn't know who he was. I feel like he was in a TV show with Allison Mack and Milo Ventimiglia that was on for like 6 episodes on Fox one summer.
Oh, maybe. I just remember thinking, who's this guy who's like sort of like a Tom Cruise knockoff, but he's also like Peter Facinelli, who's like also a Tom Cruise knockoff. Who knew, that he would, have such an interesting turn in his career. And I think that part of I don't know if, this movie does have a cult following. There is this really funny joke or meme or whatever that was circulating, in the last couple of years where, the part at the beginning where he's like, he's looking at a photo of himself.
Oh, yeah.
And then it's like, he's actually, but it's a picture of, and then it's him looking at another picture, and then it's like Captain America, but it's just his ass, and it's like, that's America's ass, and he's like looking at himself, and it's so like stupid and meta. I don't know, it's just goofy.
Speaking of, we do see his ass in this. The fucking banana sticking out of it.
Yes, that is true. That is
Lord.
True. So I guess it's funny on a few levels. Definitely my first, this is the first movie I saw. Schuler Lee.
Is that how you say her name? I thought it was Kyler. I have no idea.
I don't know how you pronounce it. It's I could totally have effed that up, but she went on. Then I didn't see her a ton, and then she went on to do like years and years and years of Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah, well, we had seen her in That 80s Show.
What's that?
That 80s Show is what she got cast in right as she was doing this. And she seemed like she was the queen of, this has so much potential, but it failed. And just kept doing that until finally she ended up on Grey's Anatomy. And thankfully, because it really does kind of hurt seeing the same people fail in these shows. I remember seeing that in Entertainment Weekly. And I think she was one of them. But they had like... John Cryer.
The Show Killers article.
Right. I want to say one was the guy that starred Eddie something from Warehouse 13, and then there was Paula Marshall, who's in tons of TV shows. The kid that was on Ugly Betty and Jake 2.0, I can't remember his name, but I don't know if he ever...
Oh, really? He was on there?
He was on that list. There was just like 5 or 6 people, and they were it was a picture of them in a race or whatever, and they were all show killers, and thankfully I think all of them eventually had some success, because if you're...
All of them kind of moved on, because wasn't it the lady who, I forgot her name, but went on to be on Once Upon a Time, and she... What's her name? Or maybe she just reminds me of Paula Marshall, and they seem kind of similar.
Yeah,
to
the
me.
one was on Boomtown, I remember, yeah. But yeah, she was one of those
Lana
girls.
Parrilla?
Maybe? I don't know.
I think she's from Boomtown. I think that's where we first saw her. But yes, that's her. And then what's his name who was on The Loop? I think he was there too. Oh, most of these people, like how unkind to write an article like that.
In the way that they did. Don't call them the show killers, but I think they were trying to show the exposure. Like, these guys are worthy of casting. It's just they're looking for that niche, that thing that works for them.
Yeah.
This was inspired by, I believe, a couple sketches that were done for the MTV Movie Awards in 1980. Sorry, what? Let's rewind back. 2000. And I really thought this was an MTV production. It's not. It's not even Paramount. And the guy who directed those, Joe Gallen, is the one who directed this movie. So somewhere along the way, he must have taken that idea over to Columbia Pictures, and they greenlit it immediately. There is a ton of 80s John Hughes influence, obviously, because they drop it like crazy. There's a Ducky character. There's, the whole Pretty in Pink probably has the biggest influence in Breakfast Club. No Ferris Bueller or anything like that, or 16 Candles.
And She's All That.
She's All That, yeah. The 90s stuff, She's All That, Bring It On, Varsity Blues, Cruel Intentions. There's a lot of that around. And I think a little bit of the problem is this kind of movie should have only been done here. But after this, it's like everybody decided that you don't need a real movie. You just grab bits and pieces from whatever's popular at that time. Like, no, don't you understand? It was a spoof of a very specific genre. You can't just go picking anything you want because it's not coherent. We have Jamie Presley as the Bring It On kind of character, but she's also the nemesis, she's like the female counterpart to Eric Christian Olsen's, who's always like the James Spader or the Paul Walker kind of character. Fucking gold in this movie. Eric Christian Olsen, why are you still on NCIS? I don't know if you have you just want to stay at home with your kids, but you should be in movies because everything I've ever seen him in is amazing.
I mean, I think that he is one of those people too that sort of struggled to find his place. I mean, I've enjoyed him in so many things, but, why is he on NCIS? But, he was on a lot of stuff that was canceled after a short period of time.
The Loop, we were huge fans of The Loop,
popular.
yeah. I still like his Dumb and Dumber. He was in Cellular, which did okay.
God, he really sold that Dumb and Dumber. It would have been garbage without him, in my opinion. But he really committed. Maybe it's garbage anyway, but
it's fun. It's fun garbage. We're going to discuss Bubble Boy. That's fun garbage, I'm sure, but maybe it's better than I remember.
Dude, I paid money and saw that.
But Chris Evans, he would do a pilot for a TV show of Witches of Eastwick, which I think they've tried 3 times now. It didn't take off, but then MTV cast him in Perfect Score, and then he did Cellular after that. I think Cellular is one of his best movies, and no one really talks about it. Thankfully, his career...
Cellular. It feels so awkward to say.
Yeah.
That's part of it.
Mia Kirshner, one of the few that were already established in this. She was a Canadian actress, but she had starred in the second Crow movie, and that was 5 years prior to this. And thank God they bring up the fact that, didn't you graduate 4 years ago? Why are you here? Because she was a lot older than everybody else.
I think the most, fun and uncomfortable thing in this movie was the musical number where... the part, she's just, it's so creepy when she's just obsessed with banging her brother.
Oh, yeah. Well, everything she did was creepy. She's spoofing the what's her name? Sarah Michelle Gellar role from Cruel Intentions. But she's normally a serious actor, and I think that's what makes everything very, very funny because she plays it dead serious. A lot of these people are kind of in on the joke a little bit. except for her. She plays it so straight. I could not stop giggling during the makeout scene.
Oh, I had to fast forward it because it grosses me out so
Couldn't
much.
stop laughing. And then when she's talking to, well, what is his face from the Human Show? Was it from Jungle to Jungle?
Oh, Sam Huntington.
Sam Huntington. That is appalling that nobody would take a dump on your chest.
I know, she's all cried. It's like you're right. It's like she's so committed to this, and then he's kind of he does more silly stuff, honestly.
Yeah, he's doing the
this
Chris
really
Klein
does
parody
fit with his thing, but goddamn, do I love that guy? Jesus, I fucking love him.
Yeah, but he's doing something very specific, and that's the character from American Pie. We have Sam Levine doing a parody of. This is kind of weird. He's doing a parody of a parody because Seth Green is doing the character in Can't Hardly Wait, which is kind of
that's what he was trying to do.
Yeah,
I didn't catch that.
So you take something realistic.
I just thought it was really offensive.
Yeah, it's I thought it was at first until you realize that he's doing. So the real thing was white guys trying to be cool by imitating black guys. Nobody at the time was imitating Asian guys, and that's why it was completely absurd. I think it actually is a thing now where you see more anime and manga and people dressing, in that style. But boy, his thing is fucking nuts, and the balls to do that. I much respect goes out to him for that. I think the sharpest, most pointed parody though is Dion Richmond's character, who I sorely miss. I don't see him anymore, but his whole thing about how black people are always tokens, and they're always throwing away, and with these one-liners that are supposed to make them seem hip, and it's always cringeworthy. And when he's at the end going, you know what, you're right, and he goes, I don't have time for this right now. I go, motherfucker.
Can I tell you something that's really sad and funny about the trivia about this movie?
What?
It says, so however you say her name, Schuler Lee, Skylar Lee, I don't know what the fuck, says she has admitted to being under the influence of cocaine throughout the majority of this movie.
Oh my god, she was so young.
What? I know, but what?
Maybe she thought she needed a high energy? I don't know.
I don't know. That just, it kind of stranges me. It weirds me out. In Spain and Greece, the movie was released under the title, This Is Not Another Dumb American Movie. It is. It is.
Cody McMains plays the younger brother, which all these movies seem to have, some sort of smart-ass younger brother. The obsessive... I'm going to tell you right now, this is a controversial statement. I've seen Pretty in Pink a few times. I want to fucking strangle John Cryer. I cannot stand him. Ducky is so irritating. Mm-hmm. And I think this is the movie that got it right, where everybody kind of just worships Ducky. And I'm like, no, he was an annoying pain in the ass. And this movie gets it with Ricky Lippman.
Yeah, I think that a lot of the things that are really... sorry, brain fart. Just, really considered positively it's like nostalgia, and it's really skewed.
Yeah. I will say there's a few characters I really thought were completely fucking useless, and they should just have ditched them. Reggie Ray, basically playing the same character he played in Varsity Blues. It is not funny. It is completely wasted. The girl with the Tourette's, fucking pointless.
Yes.
The Amanda Becker character, useless. The Areola.
The naked girl.
How can you just... that is... brave, I guess, to be that naked around other people, naked, and it's not a porno. It's just they're all dressed and they're acting it's just a walk on set and be naked. The coach,
Siamese twins.
That was the coach insane. Just that was useless. I kind of like Paul Gleason kind of reprising his character from Breakfast Club. Mm-hmm. Molly Ringwald was terrible. I think I heard that was I read that was a last minute reshoot. Yes, I read that too.
Also, I really giggled a lot and enjoyed the fact that Josh Radnor This was probably one of his first projects. I mean, people didn't know who he was for years until How I Met Your Mother came out. And, he just, I don't know, just has all these really silly lines, and he just, like,
I thought he was
throughout the whole movie.
He's like the, the guy with the exposition, the one from, like, Disturbing Behavior and Road Trip, but he really sells it. I thought it was good.
Yes.
I thought Mr. T was fucking hilarious.
I agree. Maybe the funniest thing, the best acting he's ever done.
Yeah. Everything else I think is fine. It's just, I wish that spoof movies hadn't taken the hint from this and Scary Movie and tried to be that lightning fast, no context, just go, 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 go.
Yeah, I think, it's a bit, it devolves more every time they do a movie like that.
Yeah, well, I think it's pretty much dead now, right? Because they did like Super Fast and that parody of the Twilight movies, and I haven't seen these since. I hope it's over with.
I haven't watched any in a long time because a lot of them I didn't even know existed, and I was like, oh, wow.
They just kept going.
That's sad.
Straight into direct-to-video town.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot Good Charlotte.
Let it go, guys. Just let it go.
All the songs in this are covers of teen songs from the 80s. Do you remember the Marilyn Manson video?
I do not speak of Marilyn Manson. Yeah. He is garbage.
But on MTV, they pushed this remake of Tainted Love with him, and it was creepy. He has, like, the girls from this movie all, like, strutting around sexy with him in, like, a pool, I think, or something.
Gross. Yep. I don't remember that. I'm glad I didn't. Yep. I
don't. So a shorter episode than normal, but which of the two films are your favorite?
I mean, I've seen Not Another Teen Movie a lot of times. Which is strange for a movie like this that I would watch it this many times. It's really fucking filthy.
Ew, yeah. I did not remember this even being rated R.
Yeah. So I would say that, like, High School High is a better movie for sure.
Yeah, when I do not remember the dildo scene, and that was like a fucking what kind of opening? You're like, oh boy.
Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah, I think, it's funny. It has its moments. I will pretty much watch anything Chris Evans does. God damn, I love that man. But no, definitely High School High is a better movie.
Yeah, I like the cast of Not Another Teen Movie quite a bit, but the jokes just don't last. And boy, I wonder what this like is on television. They had to chop the shit out of it.
I don't know. I watched it this most recent time on Amazon Prime. So I don't even know why they would bother showing it on TV. Yeah. It would be so shitty.
I feel like High School High is probably one of those Comedy Central's middle of the afternoon kind of movies.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
All right,
which shocks me that I've never seen it before, but I'm glad I rectified that. So thanks for suggesting a movie I hadn't seen.
I assumed it was because of the John Lovitz thing. A lot of people just don't like him, and in real life, apparently, he's a real fucking pain in the ass. But as an actor, I like him.
Shocking.
All right, so check us out on Facebook under Hit Rewind Podcast, and that is it. Have a good night.